Joining us now, NewsNation political contributor and Republican strategist, Denise Gitsham. She is also a former aide to President George W. Bush. Welcome to you, Denise. One exchange that stood out to me, and it speaks to sort of where we find ourselves in this moment in the days following Charlie Kirk's horrific assassination, is the political finger pointing from both sides. And Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota had a very respectful exchange with the FBI director on this, and she asked him, will you address this within the FBI as you investigate this case? And will you take it all the way up to the president? To which he said yes, to essentially tone down the rhetoric. What do you make of that?
What I see and what I saw in that exchange in particular that really upset me, actually, and, I'm grateful that everyone seems to be a little calmer, a little more measured in the way that they're talking to one another. I definitely sensed it. I feel like everyone has really dialed back on their fiery partisan rhetoric. I think that's a good thing for America. But if you notice what she said in that exchange with him, she was saying, I don't want to get political. And at the same time, she was throwing out all these stats about why, right wing violence is worse than left wing. As she was saying, I don't want to go, tit for tat and go after pointing fingers, but she was. And I think that's the ultimate problem, Marnie, that's underlying what's going on in America, is that each side has to take responsibility, and each individual at a more elementary basic level, we each as American citizens, forget parties, have to take responsibility for the role that we have played in fomenting this divisive assassination culture, as Charlie Kirk called it, that has resulted in so many deaths, not just Charlie's, but everyone's before him. And what you're hearing these senators express is extreme concern in the midst of this hearing that's supposed to be focused on cash. They're saying, hey, we need help. You need to protect us. I heard that from multiple senators this morning. How is the FBI going to help protect us? Because everyone is afraid of being at the other end of an assassin's target. But again, if we continue to try to play both sides of this, try to be cute and say, I don't want to be political and still be political, you're talking out of both sides out of your mouth, and you're refusing to do the one thing that's going to stop this madness from perpetuating any further, which is to take responsibility for yourself and the people, the constituents that you have leadership and influence over. And that's a full stop statement. There's nothing else that will end this violent cycle.
What else to you, Denise, stands out about today's hearing as it relates to his credibility, his leadership, his decision-making so far as FBI director?
Well, I've been surprised that there hasn't been as much of the sort of, I guess, again, it goes back to maybe it's just an era or a tone that's come over Washington in the wake of what happened last week with Charlie and all accumulated violence. I think people are being really careful not to just come after somebody in a full political attack. I just get a sense, and maybe it's because it's the Senate, not the House, and we're so used to seeing House members, basically just get erupt in anger or frustration, and the Senate is more measured, generally speaking. But I just get a sense that everyone has other things on their mind, right? Like Cash is not coming under the sort of attack that I thought he would in the way that he would. There's not like this desire to just destroy him. I think everyone is saying we've got a much bigger issue on our hands right now, which is this political violence in America. And we're not only concerned about ourselves, we're concerned about the future of our country. And I really am grateful that if there's any silver lining that comes out of this cloud of Charlie Kirk's assassination, that this causes everyone, including elected officials and the senators that are in that hearing room right now, to think about the bigger picture of how their words and how they go after their political, quote, enemies or people on the other side of the aisle is affecting the tone of how we talk to each other as Americans. Right. So it's not what I expected it to be this morning. It's not the fiery rhetoric that I'm used to hearing. It's something a lot more thoughtful, and I think that's because people are a lot more introspective.
Right, and it's refreshing.
It is so refreshing. Let's have a real conversation about the issues and not about why you hate someone because they belong to another party.
Yeah, maybe meeting the moment, and it could be the silver lining here. Denise, thank you as always. Appreciate the conversation.